Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me and allowing me to continue to be your daily advocate. If you're new here or you're not subscribed for any reason, please do me a huge favor and hit the subscribe button. Thank you to all of you who have been watching and following me for so long. It truly means a lot, and I'm glad that I can be this person.
And I'll start with a comment from attorney John Deaton, who stated, and I quote, "Thank goodness for Jay Clayton." And you might be wondering, how the hell could that be? Why would attorney John Deaton say that? Was his Twitter account hacked? Has he had a change of heart? Is he now BFF with Jay Clayton? No, nothing of the sort. As it turns out, he's thankful for Jay Clayton because Jay Clayton, he done messed up, and I'm going to share with you specifically what he did. It has to do with overcharging. Also, there's this article from the Daily Hodl, which I found fascinating. It's titled, "Former SEC Insider Says Regulator Has a Lot Riding on Case Against Ripple." And I'll tell you here at the outset of the video, this individual, who again used to work at the SEC, thinks that the SEC could be in a world of trouble because, well, I'll get into the specifics later, but I'll just suffice it to say, because of the nature of what is occurring and the potential implications for future actions against anybody in the world of crypto, the SEC really could have just shot itself in the foot already. So anyway, plenty of interesting stuff to discuss here. Oh, by the way, the topic of settlement was brought up within this piece too. Is that likely? We'll get into it. But I want to be clear at the outset, I do not have a legal or financial background of any kind. I'm not offering legal or financial advice. And you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything that I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun, damn it. All right, so here we go, into comments from attorney John Deaton just the other day. "Thank goodness for Jay Clayton." That's something you never thought you'd see John Deaton write, isn't it? "Thank goodness for Jay Clayton. Ripple, Chris Larson, and Brad Garlinghouse should all thank Jay Clayton. Clayton is on video with Joseph Grunfest starting at the 41-minute 30-second mark." And I'm not going to play the video for the purpose of this video, it's not necessary. But he's on video with Grunfest, explaining how he likes to go after the individual executives because it changes the dynamic of the case. Worth noting here, Joseph Grunfest is also a former employee of the SEC. He's a former commissioner, in fact. So the commissioners, there's 5, and he was one of 5 individuals that got to vote on whether or not to bring actions against individuals and businesses. And so he wasn't working at the SEC when the enforcement action was brought against Ripple, but he's well-versed on the topic and gets this, and he was not in favor, by the way. He's very publicly been not in favor of what the SEC did in going after Ripple. And so he stated here again, and it's on video, how Jay Clayton said he likes to go after the individual executives because it changes the dynamics of the case. Excuse me. So John Deaton continues. "Grunfest, being smarter than Clayton, cautions that when you go after individual executives, it shifts a much higher burden onto the SEC. Clayton's response to that is the following," and this is a quote, "Yeah, but it might be worth it." That's his quote. "Yeah, but it might be worth it." So higher burden, but if you can pull it off, might be worth it. John continues, "In a non-fraud case, it is simply not worth it, nor should you bring it. If executives engage in fraud or misrepresentation, they should be sued. The SEC investigated for 2.5 years and didn't find one instance of fraud or misrepresentation. You can bet it would have charged fraud if it could have. Despite no fraud, Clayton filed versus the 2 executives." Yeah, and so that's why it's so ridiculous when you read through the legal complaint, which by the way, I'm talking about the initial one back in December of 2020. I've read through that thing in its entirety twice, and then read a number of snippets, ever since then, over a year now. And I will tell you, when you read through that damn thing, they use language which is intentionally to evoke emotion, and the language that they use makes it sound as if all sorts of things which are perfectly legal are actually illegal. They're using fraud-like language in a case where there are no fraud charges. And yes, John's right. If there had been any fraud, if the SEC could have found anything, they absolutely would have charged them with fraud. But there was no fraud. Ripple and the executives, they're the most transparent company in all of crypto and blockchain. Period. There isn't even a close second, in my humble opinion. Anyway, John continues. You can go back to February 2021 and read my tweets stating I believed charging Brad and Chris with aiding and abetting was the biggest mistake the SEC made, and that it was further proof, considering the SEC had zero chance of proving it. The lawsuit was used as a weapon. Because it filed aiding and abetting claims against the two executives, this case was no longer a straightforward strict liability securities violation case. Without the executives in the case, there would be no recklessness standard being applied. It was a terrible mistake. So folks, pause this note. Now you can see why he's saying thank goodness for Jay Clayton, because he done messed up, son. Rookie mistake, bro. And then John says, mistakes are made when the motive behind the lawsuit isn't about enforcing securities laws, but something else. When the people behind filing the lawsuit leave after the case is filed, maybe they don't care about actually winning the case. Maybe filing the case was the damage. Food for thought, folks. Now into this from the Daily Huddle. Former SEC insider says regulator has a lot riding on case against Ripple. Yeah, and that an understatement. This is a big deal. Former U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission executive Joseph Hall says he's perplexed by the SEC's lawsuit against Ripple. The regulator sued the San Francisco-based payments company in December of 2020 for allegedly issuing XRP as an unregistered security and claims XRP remains an unregistered security to this day. In a new interview with the Thinking Crypto podcast, Hall says that he's sympathetic to Ripple's fair notice defense, and here's a quote. I'm very sympathetic to that argument. It's a basic due process argument. The Ripple network was operating for years behind the last-minute filing of a lawsuit against them, end quote. Yeah, so this is true, which is why I've said many times on this channel. The only people that think that Ripple is wrong in their argument from their perspective, the only people that think that and believe that XRP actually is an unregistered security of Ripple are the lawyers at the SEC and Joseph Lubin. That's it. That's it. Joseph Lubin and the SEC attorneys who actively work there. But then it's just so interesting. Even when you hear from former SEC employees, like I can't think off the top of my head if any of them have said, other than the ones that were around, involved in bringing the suit against Ripple in the first place. Other than that, any former SEC employees that I've seen speak on the subject, they're on Ripple's side. Yes, even former SEC employees. I can't think of an exception to that off the top of my head, honestly. Isn't that kind of telling, though? That's why I just don't believe that the SEC believes the crap it's arguing about XRP and against Ripple. I just don't believe that they believe it. They're not stupid. They're just bad people. They're a bunch of asshats. Piece continues. Hall worked for the SEC from 2003 to 2005, concluding his time at the commission as managing executive for policy. He's now a partner at the law firm Davis Polk. The lawyer says the SEC has a lot riding on the Ripple case, whose mission is to protect investors. Who out there listening feels really protected by the SEC? Oh, I love all that SEC protection. It's so good. I feel safe at night. Without them, I'd have to sleep with one eye open, just wondering, are my investments secure? But thanks to the good people at the SEC. No, nobody feels like that. Take a look at this quote from Mr. Hall. Their entire regulatory project could be basically shut down if they lose on the merits here. And I continue to think there's a pretty good chance that they will lose on the merits, end quote. Wow, former SEC employee here, noting the degree to which this is a gigantic deal for the SEC, and if they actually lose on the merits, they're going to lose their power. And of course, on the flip side, if they win on these merits, the facts and circumstances of the case, they would increase their stranglehold on the crypto space. So there's that possibility. But what's probable? What is just in this situation? That's what you got to be asking. And this former SEC employee, this insider, says it's not looking good for the SEC. But to anybody that's following the case, you know that the facts and circumstances are simply not on the side of the SEC. The piece continues. He predicts that there will be appeals on the case no matter what happens at the district court level. Yeah, so I'm expecting that, but that's also why I'm hoping that I kind of would prefer if there's settlement instead, because even if this is fully adjudicated and it's in favor of Ripple, it's not over. Realistically, it's probably still not going to be over. The SEC is going to come back, and like a cockroach, you just can't kill. So here's what Mr. Hall had to say on this topic, the topic of settlement. I wouldn't be banking on a tidy resolution of this case over the course of this year. Settlement is always a possibility. That could happen out of the blue. But from an outsider's perspective, which is all I have on it, both sides seem pretty dug into it right now. Yeah, I would agree with that assessment. Now, I am waiting because once the judge rules on whether or not Ripple will get to proceed with its fair notice defense, that's a very important marker for the evolution of this case. Because if Ripple is allowed to proceed with its fair notice defense, then the stakes just got that much higher. Everything's that much more risky, in particular for the SEC. Because what entity wouldn't be able to use the fair notice defense after that? You can see how big of a deal this is here. So if I think you're more likely to see full adjudication if Ripple's not allowed to utilize the fair notice defense, but if it is, settlement seems that much more likely in my humble opinion. So we shall see. It is what it is, folks.
So enjoy your day, everybody. I'm always here for you. Leave any comments or questions below, and be sure to subscribe. But thanks, everybody. I really appreciate you. Enjoy your day, and I always have your back. So thanks so much, everybody.